Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. I recognize some faces who have been here with us since last night. So thank you for being in this marathon with us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Jordana Mendelson. I direct Espacio de Culturas, which is the place where you're at. And we're just thrilled that we could be offering this program. Espacio de Culturas is a cultural center dedicated to highlighting the cultures of Spain and the Spanish-speaking world. And on behalf of our entire team, I want to extend a very warm welcome to all of you in celebration of our fall semester chair in Spanish Culture and Civilization, ISABEL COIXET. I also want to just give a shout out to my staff. This marathon has been amazing, and we couldn't have happened without our staff. Marina Garde, our assistant director, Sasha Hall, our administrative aide, also our public humanities fellow this semester, Andrea, as well as our undergraduate staff, Mariana, who's been taking pictures, Harper, Angelina, Evelyn, and Sarah, who have been working the receptions. So if you have enjoyed the last 2 days, you can thank our amazing staff for making you so comfortable here. I'm very happy, really grateful to acknowledge them. I also want to acknowledge Lai and Isabel, our amazing video team, who helps us document our events and is with us really at all of our important occasions. So later, if you want to review the comments that were had in the Q&A, it's thanks to Laya and Isabel. So yeah, we'll give them a shout out. They are both also amazing artists, so I recommend that you follow them on all of your socials so you can go to their amazing immersive exhibitions that they hold throughout the city and around the world. So each academic year, for those of you who may not know, our center hosts 2 chairs, remarkable figures from different fields who each spend a semester at NYU teaching a graduate seminar and sharing their work with the public through programs like this one. The chairs are nominated by faculty and approved by our advisory board, and our chair, Clara, is here, chair of our advisory board, so thank you, Clara. And we would especially like to thank Julia Solomonoff, who you see listed in our program. Julia is in the graduate film, and she nominated ISABEL COIXET as the KJC chair, and she has been really unwavering in her support of bringing Isabel here and really dedicated to also building out the public programs with us. So thank you, Julia. She'll be joining us after the Q&A. She's been here throughout the entire marathon, so is taking a little bit of a respite. And we really are fortunate to have her support throughout this entire semester. ISABEL COIXET, for those of you who know, is one of the most prolific Spanish filmmakers with 14 feature films and 7 documentaries. She has received 11 Goya Awards, more than any other woman director in Spanish history, and in 2020 was honored with Spain's National Cinematography Award. In 2015, the French Ministry of Culture awarded her the Chevalier d'Art and Letters. She is also a visual artist whose collages were recently exhibited at the Thyssen Museum in Madrid, a show that was curated by the first woman to hold the same chair that Isabel now holds, named Estrella de Diego. So we kind of like these full circle moments. Estrella was also an advisor of mine and a very dear friend for many decades, so it brings me kind of that 1 degree of separation that we all like to have to people who are as remarkable as Isabel. So I'm just going to claim that connection. These connections between NYU and Spain, among our chairs and between our chairs and our community are what make what we do here so valuable, and we are tremendously grateful for all that Isabel has already brought to us through her presence. Over the past 3 weeks, she has shared with us not only her brilliance and creativity, but also her integrity, her thoughtful listening, and her care for the world, from human rights, democracy, the environment, the power of thought, and beyond. And for those of you who have shared the post-screening conversations with us with Isabel, you've certainly witnessed her generosity and just how important her filmmaking work is to her ethics. And I think today especially we can celebrate a filmmaker who is really so caring and communicating with us really important issues. Julia, I was just thanking you. So so now we'll recognize. So this is Julia.
Thank you. We need to change. I've been here since 11.
Well, you look beautiful. So all of those nice words that I said about her, you can just project back onto her this way. So join us throughout this semester for a series of 3 films. Beyond the marathon, she has also curated a series of 3 films for us in which she and her invited guests share their ideas about intimacy in film, which is also the theme of her graduate seminar. And we're grateful to see so many of her students who have accompanied us over the last 2 days of the marathon. The first screening in that series is Slow by Maricha Kavartadze, who will be joining Isabel for the screening on October 8th. So if you're not already signed up for our newsletter, please do so, and then you'll get notice. And as you could tell from this marathon, the tickets sell out kind of fast. So you can also check Eventbrite frequently for our events. So now we are going to screen a remarkable film, Elisa and Marcela. It will be followed by a discussion between Julia, Isabel, and myself. I'm a little bit nervous to be joining them in conversation, but I am fortunately included because of an unfortunate reason, which is that Jennifer Cox was unable to join us because of illness. So I'm going to be trying to ask some questions about cinematography that might manifest some of what Jennifer might have discussed with us. So that's all of my comments for today. We're going to screen the film, and then please stay on for the discussion afterwards, in which Isabel will be joining us.
Querida Marcela, 4 semanas, 3 días y 9 horas me separan de la última vez que pude olerte.
Querida Elisa, hay días en los que me imagino a tu lado mientras escribes.
Esto es real, ¿verdad? No es un sueño.
¿Quién era esa, la que te ha acompañado?
De la escuela. Su tía es la directora.
Y como te importa tanto tu educación, tu madre y yo hemos decidido que vayas interno a un colegio en Madrid. ¿A dónde vas?
¡Déjame! ¡Suéltame!
Tenemos que seguirles el juego, fingir que somos como todo el mundo. ¿Sabes lo que tenemos que hacer?
Ego conjungo vos in matrimonio, in nomine Patris, et Filis, et Spiritus Sanctis. Amén.
Amén.
Podríamos conocer a tu marido.
¿Pero por qué se mete en la vida de los demás?
6-2, estão decididas em nome do governo português.
La cárcel está bien. Lo que no está bien es allá afuera. Y somos un fenómeno de feria.
¡Abre la puerta!
Y no hay escapatoria.
Si eres un hombre, demuestra.
Se lo ruego, no me haga esto.
¿Y ahora qué va a pasar?
Thank you, Isabel, for joining us again. Thank you, Julia, for joining us again. I wanted to point out something that I was remiss in pointing out before, which is that, of course, the screen holder features collages by Isabel and was designed by our wonderful communications director, Paloma. So of our staff, you've been looking at Paloma's designs and Isabel's collages over the last 2 days. So thank you for letting us have your work behind us during these conversations. Julia, do you want to start off?
Yeah, I arrived, as you know, right when you were talking. So I don't know how many of the people know that Isabel is teaching a class
We
here.
did, yeah.
You did. So because it's called Landscapes of Intimacy.
Yeah, so
and it's
as
so
you've-
telling for
yeah,
this
so
one.
as you've come in, actually,
I'm
before
sorry.
every film,
Okay.
we've done a nice setup. So,
Okay.
So everyone who sat through the film
So I won't
got to
repeat
see a
that.
preview. So we've got that.
I'm going to start then with the origin of the story that is based on a real story. And I always love to know how much of it you had and how much you created around it. Yeah.
Okay, this is a real story, and I was in Galicia many years ago, and I met Narciso de Gabriel, who is an historian, an academic, and a specialist in gender studies, who really he devoted his life to find out what really what happened with these two women. The problem is we have this picture. We have the reaction of the press at that time. We have 3 novels who were one by Emilia Pardo Bazán, and 2 others who are very, there are novels who really, portray these 2 women like 2 freaks. So the 3 novels are very, like really making fun of them. Even the Emilio Pardo Bazán, the novel of Emilia Pardo Bazán, who's a great writer, but I think she didn't get at all what these women were. And the fact is that we don't really know. There are lots of versions about what happened with these two women. We know they got married. I've seen even the papers in the archive of the church of the archive is now in Santiago de Compostela. But we know they went to Argentina. There was a kid. The kid wasn't with them when they went to Argentina. And then there are many versions about when they arrive. One of them, Marcela, married a rich guy. But all this horrible press at that time in Spain, arrived to Argentina. So they were also cast out of Buenos Aires. And then looks like, but I have to say it's not clear. Elisa left Marcela and she commits suicide. That's one of the versions. But I have to say, after watching lots of papers, very gender studies, essays, we don't really know. So since the only thing I knew is they got married, and one of them, assumed the role of a guy. I try to find, a plot who support that, the travel to Argentina, the fact they were in a prison in Lisbon and they ran away, and they finish in Argentina. And I didn't pretend this is not a documentary about Elisa and Marcela.
Of course,
It's
no.
it's my take in the story, what I think, what I want would happen.
Well, thank you for at least making sure you didn't end with the suicide. That would have been
No.
a terrible one. So at least you were able to,
After all these
yes.
things that she commit suicide.
That would have been awful. So thank you for not doing that to them.
Because also they are like, I saw some papers with the changes. They changed twice of their name, so it's really we don't really know what happened.
Oh, so as you know, Jennifer Cox was going to be here and
Yeah.
couldn't. And when Isabel and I were talking about the program with Julia, for all of your films, the cinematography and the camera work is so crucial. We talked about it after the other films as well, especially how you frame intimacy. So it's so lovely that you're working with that on the grad students. And I wanted to know if you could speak a little bit about that, about your kind of engaging Jennifer in the cinematography, and also for me, as someone who studies image, when I watch this film, I find so much is done with the camera work to communicate joyful pleasure, an awakening to pleasure, how the camera allows us to come into really innocent pleasure before the story turns more tragic. There's this kind of just really beautiful use of the camera that follows their discovery that I'm wondering if you could speak a little bit about how you, Jennifer, work together to bring the non-textual into the narrative.
When we were discussing who will we invite to these sessions, I thought about Jennifer, because also Jennifer is she's a young director of photography. I met her when she was 18. She sent me her first short film, something she did, when she was still in school, and I really, really, no, before going to film school. And I really like her, and I helped her to have a grant in the London Film and Television School, and she started working with me. She did second unit in Snows in Benidorm, and in some documentaries she went with me to Uzbekistan. So I don't know. She's someone very special, someone with a very particular world, and I have to say, in this film, we knew one of the first decisions was the black and white, and I have to say, the decision was because this, even if it looks like kind of not rich, but he looks good. But we didn't really have the budget to, and this is the story happening in 1901. So, and we have a horse. Yeah, in the bookshop we have a horse too. Really, like it's just one car, one horse. So we really have to optimize everything. And the first thing we thought is, okay, we don't have money to really recreate this era. So at least we have this tool with the black and white to to immerse people in that era. And then there are two there's special one artist and there is a very very specific homage to Maruja Mayo, who is as you very well know. She is an incredible. I love this person. I love her art. I love her life and how she never achieved any success, but she was someone always faithful. And the scene with Natalia de Molina, Marcela with the seaweed is inspired in Maruja Mayo. Also, there is this the octopus is, for me, it's an homage also to the woman of the wife of the fisherman, the Okusai painting in the 1843. And we look all these references of paintings and that's how we come to
I
do the
love
film.
that you brought up the Maruja Mayo reference. So Maruja Mayo was a painter. She was part of the generation of 1927. She was at the Residencia Estudiantes with people who like Luis Buñuel and Salvador Dalí and Federico Garcia Lorca, and from Galicia, and then is in Buenos Aires in Argentina in exile after the Spanish Civil War. And it's a beautiful homage, a very like as with the reference to Pardo Bazán, these kind of intertextual references.
And Rosalía de Castro.
And it's also beautiful because of bringing that kind of sensorial reference in, so you can watch it without knowing that there's a reference, right? You can still see that it's about pleasure, but also in bringing her forward and bringing these women who declared their identities, their artistic identities, so clearly it's like these historical figures are in dialogue with each other, right? Really beautifully through the references, through the citations. And then if you don't know them, I think it still pushes through the aesthetic of the film, through the references.
Galicia was a very, very, culturally very rich land. I mean, they have incredible poets and musicians and writers, and even if Emilia Pardo Bazán was not, a fan of Elisa and Marcela, I have to say, she's an incredible writer. She is. There are some of her novels we can be, she was very influenced by Emile Zola, but she was very, very, very original and she had a very, very original life, having two lovers at the same time and without everybody knowing. And because also sometimes people think, Galicia, Spain, 1901, oh my God. But, people have lives, people had sex. And one of the things I discovered when one of the pleasures of making a period film is like, you go to churches, you talk to people, people still, had to defend these women, but also some people are like, oh, why these two marimachos, they got married. So there's still something there. There have been theater adaptations. One, a very nice one with a Galician theater group, and now they have a street, they have a prize, and then and I'm very happy to have to just push this story to the light.
I didn't know the story before I watched the film, so it was a real education for me. And instead of us chatting more, because it seems like after every session there's lots of questions and sometimes we have to clip it, is it okay if we go right to questions? And I would say, since we have Isabel here, I know at the end of a few other sessions there were some questions that stood in the air a little bit. So Sasha's got a microphone. And if anyone wants to ask questions about this film or some other things that we viewed.
One of the beautiful things about the black and white was I think you incorporated archival footage, like the carriages, or not, or did you develop
This
that?
one.
No, we didn't. There was no. The only thing is the Porto scene at the beginning, because, of course, we didn't shoot in Porto. We shoot right there when we were shooting the whole film. So, in fact, the prison is in. It was a very, very impressive location. The prison is in Figueras, in Girona, and the prison was the place. It's historically, it's very interesting as two things. It was the prison where Tejero, the guy who, exactly. In 80, well, Tejero was a guy, a Guardia Civil, who tried a coup d'etat in Spain. And he was, you remember the
People
thing
may
what
not
happened
remember
here
it.
in the Congress?
Yeah, so in
with the
19
guys with the corn.
Yeah,
That
so-
happened in Spain too.
So just to fill in a blank, so in 1981, Tejero comes into the Senate. It's live televised over the television, and the coup is put down. And we won't fill in more of the details because there's some intersection with our own institutional history. But we'll just say that
But there was this guy who was a part of the army. I mean, he spent his last days there in that prison, and in that prison it was the last time the las Cortes Españolas, the Spanish Congress, had a meeting before going into the exile in the 39. And they have the place there, and it's a place when you see it, there is all this weight of history there. Yeah, but it's not Portugal, it's Girona.
Hola. I had not seen this movie before and I loved it. So thank you so much. I have a question about the sex scenes. We were talking about being sexy. Because they are kind of key to the story. How do you write that? How do you negotiate the story with, like, I don't know if there were intimacy coordinators here, is this like part of the screenplay? Like, how much of this is like, because it's telling the story, like we see the characters evolve, as Jordana was saying before. It's like there's part of it that's like is visual, and it's like how much do you tell on the page, how much happens on the set itself.
I never worked with an intimacy coordinator. I hope there is not one in the here. Because I'm saying to my students in the class, I think the job of a director is, direct everything. That's why you do. And also because it's great. And also I think you have to have a very open and trusting relationship with your actors. And, with Natalia de Molina and Greta, Greta, who's a girl, she's an actress I know since she's 7. And I remember saw her in my house in Sitges one day in front of a mirror crying. And I said, Greta, because her father is a very, very, very important actor in Spain. And I said, Greta, why are you crying? And she said, because I want to be an actress and I want to see how tears are. So for me, this girl is like my daughter. So, and Natalia is an incredible actress. She has been in many, many very good Spanish films. And, I don't have this, this, every time a director talks about sex scenes, it's like torture. For me, and I think for my actors, you can ask them, but it's not, we have these two girls meeting in these hard times, and they discover sex, like they are really discovering sex in mankind. So those were kind of easy. I have to say 90% of the crew we were women, so they really feel, comfortable, safe, nothing. nothing was going to happen to them, and they were, they trust me, I trust them. Nothing is forced. They are friends. They are not girlfriends, but they are friends. And we knew part of the, we have to show what was happening between these two women was very, very intense and very truthful. And sex is, sex can be truthful, good.
Thank you. That was a great movie. The photograph at the very end, is that real or
Yeah.
did you fake that up?
It's a real photograph, and this photograph now, it's it's in a museum, of course. But we shoot with the same. We did a real, a real picture of the fake couple with the same camera. So because the guy who did the picture, their grandkids, they still have the camera and we use it.
Nice.
So it's them. Yeah. It's.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Isabel. Thank you, Julia.
I know it's
Thank you,
very
Romana.
hard.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Thanks for coming.